La vie peut être une aventure passionnée et rapide,
Lente ou triste.
et parfois remplie de hauts et de bas.
Mais d'après les psychiatres, on peut mettre l'étiquette maladie mentale sur tout aspect de la vie.
Vraiment? Comme quoi?
Si vous avez le cœur lourd après une grosse dispute, l'étiquette pourrait dire dépression,
Si vous êtes nerveux avant de parler en public,
trouble de l'anxiété,
ou bien bavard et plein d'entrain,
maniaque.
ça semble un peu dingue.
Ça l'est.
Mais ça se passe vraiment?
Allons demander.
How many people do you know that have been diagnosed with a mental disorder?
Diagnosed with a mental, God, off the top of my head, maybe one person that I know who's been diagnosed with a mental disorder.
Probably just one.
So, yeah, maybe 2 or 3 people, maybe in the 3 or 4 range.
4 or 5, maybe 5.
6 people in the household.
6, 7.
10.
A dozen or so.
About 20.
How about 30?
Would definitely be in the hundreds for sure.
The total number of people that I know in my lifetime has been diagnosed with a mental disorder probably fall around the range of 100 to 150, and I'm 23 years old.
Ça alors? Mais d'où viennent tous ces troubles?
Du manuel diagnostic et statistique des troubles mentaux. Il fait 943 pages et traite de tout. Dépression, anxiété, bégaiement, dépendance à la cigarette, peur des araignées, cauchemars, difficultés en maths et même troubles de l'enfance. Tous réinterprétés et faussement présentés comme des maladies du cerveau.
Mais il y a des gens qui ont de graves problèmes dans la vie.
Bien sûr. Mais pour les psychiatres, c'est juste votre cerveau qui a quelque chose qui ne va pas.
Alors si je comprends bien, les psychiatres ont un livre des problèmes de la vie réinterprétés comme des troubles mentaux?
Effectivement,
Eh bien, cela doit avoir une base très scientifique.
ça le devrait, mais ce n'est pas le cas. Les psychiatres l'ont même admis à une de leurs conventions récentes. Écoute-les.
DSM is made up by committees of men who have political opinion, and women too, who have biases and political opinions. And so there isn't nearly as much science in DSM as there ought to be.
Like in the previous one, people had a meeting in the bathroom and they decided that something should be in there, and then they would go and propose it to the whole committee.
You have this kind of lumping together of several observations, and when you get enough of them in one tent, you got a diagnosis.
DSM system is not the real system of the diagnosis.
A lot of the disorders that are in there haven't necessarily been rigorously validated.
It's just the best tool that we have available, but it is not perfect.
It's so useless that if you give me a patient and the DSM, I'll make at least 20 diagnoses on the same patient.
You have to take it with a grain of salt anyway. It's actually getting more and more complicated.
We're left with diagnosing things on the basis of checklists and questionnaires, which leaves us sort of out of, as you said, the rest of medicine because we don't have a biological test.
Incroyable.
La base non scientifique du DSM est en effet un secret de polichinelle. Voilà ce que des professionnels en disent.
The DSM is a sham. It's been described as a house of cards. Why? Because the diagnoses are theoretical. They're not based on scientific measurements.
It's sort of a shaky level built on another shaky level, built on another shaky level.
It is flimsy and that it is easily collapsible under the scrutiny of critical thinking.
If you just pull one little fragment of the reasoning aside and questioning thoroughly, you'll find it doesn't stand up, and then that means that the whole organism collapses because you've got some wrong premises in there somewhere. In fact, they're all over the place.
It is indeed a house of cards because it's predicated on not a solid structure. It is built to create an apparently legitimate edifice, which results in a diagnosis. But any serious inquiry will show it to be illegitimate.
Here, I tell you. With schizophrenia,
Si le DSM n'a pas de base scientifique, d'où vient-il?
Il est né du simple désir pour la psychiatrie et la psychologie d'être accepté au sein de la médecine traditionnelle.
We psychologists have always desperately wanted to be accepted as a real science, as a true science. Now, what the early psychologists did was they looked around and they saw what other scientists were doing and they decided to emulate them.
Modern approaches to classifying psychiatric disorders dates from the 19th century.
Nearly all the clinical concepts we have today originate from that time. Probably the most important of all was a chap called Emil Kraepelin, who worked first of all in Heidelberg and then in Munich.
Jamais entendu parler.
Émile Kraepelin est le père de la classification psychiatrique. Il fut le premier à classer ce qu'il pensait être des maladies biologiques du cerveau. Il y avait la démence précoce, ou schizophrénie, la maladie maniaco-dépressive et la psychose paranoïaque. Tous des concepts qui sont encore dans le DSM.
C'est tout? 3 troubles.
Oui, seulement 3. Mais le système de Kraepelin est vite devenu très populaire. Écoute ça.
Kraepelin's system caught on very quickly, not only in the German-speaking world, but also in the English-speaking world, in the United States and Britain. It caught on because up to that point, nobody had an agreed way of talking about patients.
So in the early 1950s, there was compiled Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Now, there are very few statistics in the book. Disorder is used essentially as a euphemism for illness. This is a book which catalogues mental illnesses for which no medical sign has ever been discovered.
Le livret original faisait 130 pages et comptait 112 troubles mentaux, bien moins que le DSM actuel, mais bien plus que ce que Kraepelin avait entrevu.
Pourquoi autant?
Parce que, en définissant de plus en plus d'aspects de la vie comme anormaux, les psychiatres pouvaient obtenir des sommes folles du gouvernement.
En définissant la vie, ça veut dire quoi?
Eh bien, retenir sa respiration, se ronger les ongles, sucer son pouce, être somnambule, manquer d'efficacité, même l'homosexualité.
C'est ridicule. Ils ont rajouté tout ça pour avoir des gens à soigner?
Et même plus. La deuxième version, le DSM-2, fut publiée en 1968 avec 178 troubles. Là encore, pour soutirer encore plus d'argent aux caisses de sécurité sociale. Pour avoir une portée internationale, le DSM-2 fut aligné sur la classification internationale des maladies, la CIM. Un livre très utilisé en Europe et dans le monde, qui, en plus des diagnostics psychiatriques, énumère aussi les vraies maladies.
C'est comme ça que les troubles psychiatriques ont été acceptés par la médecine courante?
C'était le début. Mais le DSM-2 n'était toujours pas scientifique, car il était fortement influencé non pas par des tests cliniques, mais par les théories du psychologue autrichien Sigmund Freud.
Alors il devait y avoir beaucoup de névroses dans ce livre?
Ouais, mais pas la moindre information sur leur cause. Ils n'en ont même pas cherché la cause.
Inclusion of a disorder in the classification does not require that there be knowledge about its etiology. So in other words, to make a diagnosis, you really don't need to bother with cause and effect. You don't need to know what causes the condition.
Mais attends, si le DSM ne donne pas la cause des troubles, comment font les psychiatres pour même les découvrir?
La réponse pourrait te surprendre.
New diseases are being invented all the time, and I want to emphasize the word invented, because when it comes to psychiatry, mental illnesses are not discovered, they're invented.
The way the system works in terms of diagnosis is that every few years a group of psychiatrists and psychologists sit around in a room and vote on new diagnoses.
Et c'est de la science? Je ne peux pas y croire.
T'en fais pas, t'es pas le seul.
The diseases are voted on? What do you mean?
Did you say, are they voted into existence?
Are voted?
As in created?
Oh, man.
I think that's kind of ridiculous.
It's crazy that you would vote. I definitely don't agree.
I don't agree with it at all.
Mental disorders should be based on scientific research.
I have been led to believe that it's all based on medicine and science.
So I'm kind of shocked to find that out.
Moi aussi.
Ce n'est pas tout. Non seulement les troubles mentaux sont inclus par vote, mais parfois ils sont aussi exclus par vote. Prenons par exemple l'homosexualité, qui figurait dans le DSM 1 et 2 comme une maladie mentale. Voici comment l'éditeur en chef du DSM 3, Robert Spitzer, explique la chose.
I came up with a definition in 1973 that made it possible to argue that homosexuality was not a mental disorder.
On a vote, essentially, at a conference of the American Psychiatric Association, it was removed.
Now, did they discover that homosexuality was not a disease through scientific processes? No. It was included for political reasons, and it was removed for political reasons.
And the end result is a vote. It's a supposed democracy. So to call it science is is a complete fabrication.
Donc le DSM est en fait politique, pas scientifique.
Absolument.
Je croyais que les psychiatres voulaient être considérés comme étant des docteurs.
C'est vrai. C'est pour cela que leur manuel devait avoir l'air plus scientifique.
Mais ils ne l'étaient pas. Qu'ont-ils fait alors?
Eh bien, ils ont décidé que la prochaine édition serait complètement différente. Cette décision allait changer la psychiatrie à jamais.
If you roll the clock forward to the 1970s in the United States, basically at that time psychiatry was in very poor shape for a number of reasons. First of all, it was held in very low regard by other members of the medical profession. So psychiatry was the sort of thing you did if you couldn't succeed in any other area of medicine.
And people such as Robert Spitzer in America made it very clear that the time had come essentially for psychiatrists, being doctors of medicine, to practice medicine. So if a psychiatrist was spending a lot of time dealing with people who were anxious, depressed, these dilemmas, these problems in living, now essentially had to be redefined. And they were redefined as medical conditions.
And their solution to this was to come up with a manual which defined psychiatric disorders more carefully. So, hence, we have DSM-3, which is the third edition, which is published in 1980.
Sous Spitzer, les éditeurs du DSM-3 ont éliminé la psychologie freudienne et ont décrété que les diagnostics psychiatriques seraient désormais purement biologiques.
Alors ils sont finalement devenus scientifiques?
Non, en fait pas du tout. D'ailleurs, les querelles politiques concernant quels troubles seraient inclus ou omis du DSM-3 furent encore plus ridicules. Voici comment un psychiatre le décrit.
They would squeeze into a room which was about half the size of this one. It was much too small. And Bob would raise a provocative question, and people would shout out their opinions from all sides of the room. And whoever shouted loudest tended to be heard. My own impression is it was more like a tobacco auction than a sort of conference.
Et voici ce qu'a dit un autre membre de ce comité.
The low level of intellectual effort was shocking. Diagnoses were developed by majority vote on the level we would use to choose a restaurant. You feel like Italian, I feel like Chinese, so let's go to a cafeteria. Then it's typed into the computer. It may reflect on our naivete, but it was our belief that there would be an attempt to look at things scientifically.
Donc leur manuel diagnostique avait l'air plus scientifique, sans offrir plus de science qu'avant.
Et le nombre de troubles mentaux dans le DSM-3 a grimpé à 259. Mais pour faire accepter l'idée que la psychiatrie était bien une science médicale, il leur fallait une théorie qui ait l'air très scientifique.
But with DSM-3 from 1980 on, there was the progressive medicalisation of psychiatry, and the notion of chemical imbalance was invented and essentially took hold.
Hein? Quel déséquilibre?
La théorie du déséquilibre chimique. Née en 1965, elle tentait d'expliquer que la dépression pourrait résulter d'un déséquilibre parmi certaines substances chimiques cérébrales.
Vas-y, raconte.
Selon Joseph Schildkraut, si les psychotropes changent le niveau de ces substances chimiques, alors la maladie mentale doit être causée par des niveaux trop élevés ou trop faibles de ces substances.
N'est-ce pas à l'envers?
Si, pour sûr. Autant dire que si l'aspirine arrête un mal de tête, ça veut dire que les maux de tête sont causés par un manque d'aspirine.
Je vois ce que tu veux dire.
Mais c'était suffisamment convaincant pour donner à la psychiatrie et au DSM-3 un air de science. Comme l'a dit Robert Spitzer,
Psychiatry felt now, gee, we're more scientific, we're part of medicine.
Donc ça a marché.
Oui. Et depuis, les psychiatres et l'industrie pharmaceutique n'ont cessé de promouvoir cette théorie de déséquilibre chimique auprès des médecins et du public.
If you're one of the millions of people who live with uncontrollable worry, anxiety, and several of these symptoms for 6 months or more, you could be suffering from generalized anxiety disorder, and a chemical imbalance could be to blame.
Pristique is thought to work by affecting the levels of 2 chemicals in the brain.
It works to correct chemical imbalances in the brain, which may be related to symptoms of social anxiety disorder.
Cymbalta works on serotonin and norepinephrine.
Hundreds of thousands of patients have been prescribed Abilify. Ask your doctor.
Ask your doctor.
Talk to your doctor. Call your doctor.
Ask your doctor about Cymbalta.
Pristiq is a key in helping to treat my depression. Ask your doctor about Pristiq.
You come to my office, and I say to you, well, you describe what's going on in your life and your symptoms, and I say, well, it's clear to me that you've got a chemical imbalance, and we're going to write you a prescription for this. The truth of the matter is, there's no such thing as a chemical imbalance.
There's no test out there that they can depend on that tells you you have a chemical imbalance.
There's actually, in fact, dozens of studies showing that there isn't any measurable imbalance. So psychiatrists will explain to patients all the time, this is just like diabetes. In diabetes, you have low insulin, we have to readjust the insulin level. In depression, you have low serotonin, we have to readjust the serotonin level. But actually, we have already proven that there's nothing wrong with serotonin levels. It's completely a myth, disproven by our own evidence.
I had a psychiatrist. He said that, in his professional opinion, this child had ADHD, a chemical imbalance of the brain. And when he was questioned on the witness stand as an expert witness for the state, he was asked if they had done an MRI. He said no. He was questioned if they had done a CAT scan. He said no. He was asked if they had done any bodily fluid check known to medical science to prove that this child had a chemical imbalance of the brain. He says no. And when he was asked how he arrived at this ADHD diagnosis, a chemical imbalance of the brain, it came down to that he had counseled and observed this child for 2 hours, and half of the time was observing. How do you arrive at a diagnosis of a chemical imbalance of the brain by talking to a child and observing them for 2 hours? You don't, okay? It's pure guesswork.
Wow, est-ce vraiment possible?
Vois pour toi-même. Voici une personne qui est allée voir plusieurs psychiatres avec une caméra cachée et a demandé un test pour maladie mentale.
Of any scientific test?
Not that I'm prepared to do this time.
So you getting that I have adjustment, or what do we have?
Adjustment disorder with mixed emotional features. It just means situational stress.
Right,
it's a formal